Welcome to Asian Vision Dialogue. Meet me, Him Sutirot, the host of today's program. Our discussion today is about Cambodian ASEAN Chairmanship in 2022, priority and challenges in ASEAN Economic Community Pillar. And we have our guest of honor, Mr. Virak, the Deputy Director General of the International Trade General Department from the Ministry of Commerce. And we have Dr. Kimlong, the Second Vice President of the Asian Vision Institute, or ADI. So, greeting Mr. Virak and Dr. Kimlong. Yes. So, Mr. Virak and Dr. Kimlong, people are saying that during our chairmanship next year, we probably deal with many political security issues, many regional and international issues, including Myanmar, including the other regional issue. But, however, I believe that we also need to prioritize our economic pillar as well. So from your point of view, during our chairmanship, should Cambodia prioritize those regional and global issues more than the ASEAN economic pillar, or should we prioritize our economic priority more than the political security?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sotirot, for the question. As Ms. Sotirot has introduced, my name is Virak, Deputy Director General, Ministry of Commerce of Cambodia. And at the outset, I'm more than delighted and my great honor to be here today. And I would like to express my sincere thanks the ASEAN Vision Institute, management and team for inviting me to this important dialogue. I will try my utmost best to be part of your program and to bring the most insightful and appropriate response. I indeed thank Mr. Terot for raising this very important question on do I find it encouraging discussing more about political securities or economic development in 2022 agenda. I fully believe that our audience would be interested to know more about our agenda during our chairmanship in 2022. Without delays, as my response to your question, let me briefly highlight those key areas as follows. As we are aware, and although ASEAN economy is gradually bouncing back, the recovery remains violated as the COVID-19 virus has constantly transformed or mutated into a new variant. Therefore, enhancing the competitiveness and resilience of ASEAN economy, especially post-pandemic socio-economic recovery, will be one of our top priority when chairing ASEAN in 2022. Cambodia will accelerate the implementation of existing consolidated action plan and activity such as the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework, so-called ACOF, the ASEAN Investment Facilitation Framework, the ASEAN Framework on Circular Economy, as well as the Banda Seri Bega 1 Roadmap. Among others, in order to promote inclusive, sustainable, and resilient ASEAN. Having said that, I believe that the political security as well as social cultural cooperation will also be the main focus in our 2022 agenda. Under the same addressing challenges together, ASEAN ACT. Yes, Mr. Tirot, I can say that Cambodia regards the three pillars as equally significant and is committed to upload them as a central priority for our chairmanship in next years. I thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Virak. What about Dr. Kimlong? What is your perspective on the comparison between the two agendas, the political security and the economic security in Cambodian Chairmanship 2022?
Thank you so much, Sotirot, for having me today, and thank you, Mr. Virak, for joining us in today's program. I think the question is is one of the hot topic for our policymakers as well as for policy analysts with regard to whether political securities measures would be more prevalent and more relevant in Cambodia's ASEAN chairmanship in 2022, or whether it complement the other economic pillar, social, cultural pillars among the top priorities for ASEAN. I think we have to take into account the fact that political securities and economic securities are interrelated and interdependent. Both are equally important in their own ways. And Cambodia's ASEAN Chairmanship 2022 would look into some of the topics that Mr. Khun Virak have just mentioned, including the ASEAN Economic Community, the blueprint, and as well as the comprehensive recovery framework that ASEAN set out last year. To make it short, Cambodia should focus more on how to bring ASEAN as a region to work together and come up together with strategies that focus on people-centered development using the existing framework as well as new initiatives that promote the well-being of the people, that bring countries closer together culturally, politically and socially to one thing, fight against the impact of COVID-19 that is raging on the social and economic well-being of the people.
So thank you, Dr. Kimlong. What about if we focus on one of the mega trading deal that actually ASEAN and the other 5 dialogue partners almost come to deal, and it will come into force in the early 2022, which is the RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. So this trading deal can be regarded as one of the biggest deal in the world, also in the region as well. What should be the positive impacts and what should be the negative impacts when we enter into force in that mega trade deal?
I think from the economic perspective, RCEP will provide a lot of opportunities, and most of them are promising opportunities for the country, for not only the Cambodia but for other 15 member countries that have already signed the trade deal in November last year. One of the opportunities for Cambodia is the greater expansion of markets. That is, I think, in line with the government policies in terms of promoting and export markets, trading partners, and theoretically promoting trading partners, economic partners, and export markets would provide the ground for the country, for the economy to develop in many ways. So the mega trade deal, once it goes into effect after the remaining 5 members sign, and when the deal goes into effect by early January 2022, if that will happen, that will allow not only Cambodia but other members benefit gradually, through the steps and stages of the implementation of the Great Deal. Expanding export markets would allow Cambodia to diversify. Like I said, trading partners is one, but diversify the products and services that Cambodia want to expand the economic base, and diversify the export markets that will also induce the inflow of foreign direct investment, capital and technologies from the regional member countries as well as from the other part of the world to Cambodia to expand, to help boost the production base, to provide jobs and opportunity for the people. And at the end of the day, we will see that the service and industrial sector of Cambodia would be growing not to be compatible with other countries in the region in the short term, but gradually it will be able to be upgraded, and we hope that in the middle term to the long term, Cambodian economies will be comparable to other countries in the region, and Cambodia can be one of the hubs that absorb foreign direct investment technologies, and then we become the hub to distribute products and services to part of the world, and Cambodia will be able to fully integrate it into ASEAN and into the greater mega trade deal we call RCEP.
Okay, so it sounds interesting and like very, attractive. It seems like once the RCEP is actually come into force, we earn a lot of benefit. But what about Mr. Virak? So since you are involving in the process of negotiation in the RCEP already, so from the the ministry perspective, what should be the priority area or like challenges, possible challenges that happen like when RCEP come into force, especially for Cambodia?
Yes, once again, thank Mr. Thierot for the question. This is not only important but very inspiring as well. Mr. Thierot, I fully agree with Dr. Kimlong. He just mentioned earlier. Further to this, allow me to address some key points with regard to the RCEP history as well as the benefit and challenges. Yes, as we know that the RCEP took almost a decade from starting point until its conclusion. And achieving this mega trade deal is very important in building trust for investment. It is very important to building trust for investment. And as for my personal views, for this question, you may already be aware that RCEP account for 30% of the global population, 30% of the world GDP, and 28% of the global trade. Based on the research in Institute of ASEAN and East Asia, so-called areas, it's shown that after the conclusion of the RCEP agreement, per annum, Cambodia is expected to increase 2% on top of the current GDP, 7.3% and 23.4% in export and investment respectively. And with tariff elimination and reduction set out in the RCEP, Cambodia could increase export to those 14 countries, attract high quality goods, and import cheaper raw material for domestic production and re-export. FDI inflow will also increase as Cambodia has numerous potential and is well positioned as a business and investment hub for other countries who wish to get access to the RCEP market. Cambodia can also benefit from flexibility, especially special treatment as well as technical assistance provided under the RCEP framework. As a least developed parties will allow us to develop and upgrade our local producer with skill, expertise, and productivities. Yes, however, there will also be some challenge which Cambodia will encounter under RCEP. As expected, Cambodia will see a slight reduction of custom revenues, which result from the elimination and reduction of tariffs as part of our commitment. We also expect the increased competition from other members of RCEP participating country as well. And nevertheless, the benefit outweigh the drawback, as I mentioned it earlier. Participating in RCEP is also in line with the government of Cambodia reticular strategy phase 4 to further integrate into the regional and global supply chain and value chain, enhancing Cambodia's competition in the region and global market. Mr. Thierot, I believe that this is the right policy direction from our government to foster economic growth, peace, and stability. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Virak. It is said that Cambodia is going to be Southeast Asia's emerging tiger. So what do you think? Can RCEP help to accelerate the process of graduation into the emerging tiger or not?
Yes, thank you, Sotirot, for this other important question. Well, I cannot agree more. Over the past 2 decades, because of peace and solid political stability since 1998, led by our Samdech Techo Prime Minister, Cambodia's economy has sustained an average annual growth rate of 7.7% between 1998 and 2019, making it one of the fastest growing economy in the world. However, due to a COVID pandemic, our economy contracted by 3.1% in 2020 and focus to grow to 5.5% in 2022, according to AD3 outlook. The government has been developing and adopting a national policy roadmap aimed at upgrading industry from low-cost labor incentive manufacturing to production with higher value added and set out in our industrial development policy 2015-2025. Yes, the policy coupled with a stronger regulation and enforcement has enabled Cambodia to extend and modernize small and medium-sized enterprise and provided ease for doing business. Likewise, the government has also been diversifying market to boost our export and attract FDI. On top of the FDI in ASEAN dialogue partners, Cambodia is now a member of RCEP trade agreement. Cambodia has also signed bilateral FTA with China and South Korea recently, has been negotiating with other potential trading partners as well. With our strategic location, young and dynamic workforce, special and different treatment, quick market access, competitive wage trade, as well as favorable investment law, Cambodia is well positioned as a potential hub for business and investment and is on track to become an upper middle income country by 2030 and high income countries by 2050. Sotirot, Cambodia will continue to strengthen our competitiveness as I have addressed above in order to further integrate our economy into sub-region, regional, and global. I thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Virak. What about Dr. Kimlong? What is your perspective on this question?
Well, if we look at the growth statistics as presented by Mr. Khun Virak, we have seen that economic growth in Cambodia has been quite transformative over the past 2 decades, and that has built a foundation for the expansion of our economic growth base, together with the emerging trading partners and economic cooperation initiative the Cambodian government is trying to reach. Along the way, we would like to see a strong, resilient tiger, not just a tiger that would vanish in a decade or two, but we want Cambodia to be a very important, active and dynamic economy in the region. One thing is the hub for the region, the hub for the Asia Pacific or the world as a whole. Taking from that vision, there are a couple of things that we need to build on and to promote in order for Cambodia to be the strong and resilient tiger. For one thing is the young dynamic workforce, and we want the Cambodian young dynamic workforce to be more dynamic by taking on these we call demographic dividend to promoting and upgrading their productive skills. So productive skills are very important. Not only the skill that they obtain from universities, but skills, knowledge, expertise, particularly the productive capacities of Cambodian workforce to engage directly in the production sector, in the manufacturing sector, in the innovative, other innovative creative sectors that are part of the Cambodian industrial framework. So the third is the promotion of investment by the domestic investors and also the investment from outside in productive sector as well, not only to invest in that we call it non-productive sectors like speculation. Speculation could be good in the beginning, but it will not serve the interest of Cambodia to be a strong and resilient tiger. But I think coming back to the third point that I wish to see is that Cambodia integrate itself more dynamically and progressively in the region, connecting the logistic and transport networks with members in the Mekong countries, with other countries in ASEAN. And the second connectivity is the digital connectivity. So if for the beginning and when we take advantage of what we are saying that Cambodia have all of those advantages and we build upon and we upgrade all of these, I do believe that in the mid-term to the long term, Cambodia will be one of the very active and strong economic player in the region and in the world, and that will lift up the living standard of the people and also move Cambodia in the way to achieve the goal in 2030 and 2050 as a high income country by then.
So in connection with their digital connectivity, or what we call digital transformation, what has Cambodian prepared for their digital transformation in order to promote regional economic integration and sustainable development?
A number of Cambodian ministries have been very active in promoting Cambodian digital economy to be supported by the growing digitalizations within the ministry itself. We call digital government, and also the promotion of digital society. Take for example, Ministry of Economy and Finance have just adopted a policy framework on digital Cambodia with the vision of promoting and integrating Cambodia into the region. Connecting Cambodia to other economic hubs like the EU, for instance. The Ministry of Economy and Finance is also promoting the young entrepreneurship, and also we see the digital ecosystem through the implementation of the digital startup centers. And just a couple of days ago, we have seen that the ministry just launched the digital startup.
Right.
Yeah, that part of the policies to promote digital transformation in Cambodia. Looking back at the digital society and digital government, Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications have also been moving forward very fast with regard to their own policy and frameworks. So this and the other ministry, for example, Ministry of Commerce itself, have been working on the online business registration, improving the policy regulation and also the implementation of all of those to be in line with the entire government policy to promote the digital economy. I think one more thing that the Cambodian government has been promoting and supporting is the digital workforce. We have seen that Cambodian government has allowed or encouraged the development of a co-working space and also the the startup communities inside the countries, and also the promotion of the innovations and development of digital applications within the country and also with other countries in the region. And one thing that we have not seen much, but it is a fact in Cambodia, is that the government and the private sector have been working alongside very well, attracting the talent from other countries to support the growth of the digital ecosystem in Cambodia. And I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we will see that Cambodia will not be left behind. But Cambodia will be able to, go and walk alongside with other members, ASEAN member countries, integrate itself along the way, building that digital connectivity. And one more thing is to respond to the emerging needs of society and country, connected culturally, economically, and politically.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Kimlong. What about Mr. Virak?
Yes.
What is your perspective on that? What have the ministry done so far in terms of digital transformation?
Yes, thank you again, Setirot and Dr. Kimlong. I would like to start that to prepare our countries for a digital economy, it is necessary to have a legal framework to establish an enabling regulatory environment in order to support the private sectors to expand their digital services and build resiliency of the economies. So far, the Royal Government of Cambodia has worked with different stakeholders to set out a number of supporting policy and framework, including, among others, the Rectangular Strategy Phase 4 ICT Master Plan 2020, Telecom ICT Development Policy 2020, Law and Telecommunication and National Policy on Science and Technology and Innovation 2020 and 2030. Taking this moment, I would like to inform that, and also along with Dr. Kimlong mentioned it earlier, Ministry of Commerce, under the capable leadership of the Honorable Minister Pan Sosa, we have our e-commerce law. We adopt e-commerce strategy, and a number of public services has been improved using automation system, such as certification of origin issuance, business and trademark registration. We have also created CambodiaTrade.com as an e-market platform that allows business, and we have also created CambodiaTrade.com as an e-market platform that allows business and SME to offer their goods and services effectively to broader customer. Second, we can see that there have been a great development of digital transformation in Cambodia, particularly on digital infrastructures, digital public platform, digital financial services, as well as digital business. Cambodia has continuously advanced digital transformation to transform into digital economy by adopting several initiatives, such as digital economy by adopting several initiatives. Yes, and Cambodia has continuously advanced digital infrastructures to transform into digital economy by adopting several initiatives such as digital economy and society framework 2021-2035, online tech payment system, intellectual property filing system, digital platform, online payment system, skill development fund, entrepreneurship development fund, and digital startup center. Mr. Thirot, in my view, the digital transformation in Cambodia has been growing rapidly, especially in driving resiliency recovery from the impact of COVID-19. And I think we also need to accelerate our digital transformation by further leveraging our cooperation with other ASEAN members, state, ASEAN dialogue partners, and with private sectors. I thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Virak. So I think this can be the end of our discussion. But before concluding our program today, would you like to have some wrap-up impression or remarks which can be delivered to our audience who are now watching us?
From my point of view, Cambodia's ASEAN chairmanship in 2022 will provide Cambodia an opportunity to leverage our position as a chair and addressing the common issues and common concern that Cambodia and ASEAN member states have shared, one of which is the economic recovery, while at the same time protecting the human security in the region, and as well as try our best to promote our role as an effective and active chairman in 2022 by bringing tangible outcomes on a number of areas of common interest. The economic integration in economic cooperation by member states is one, but moving from ASEAN economic community, from ASEAN economic integration to the regional comprehensive economic partnership is another way. And ASEAN should continue to be very active and dialogue partner with other trading partners in the world, such as the European Union as well, and trying to harmonize our legal systems, in order to seamlessly integrate countries in ASEAN and also member countries in the RCEP trading deal. I think the second thing would be to work on existing frameworks to promote the development of physical connectivities. I think to promote trade, to integrate our countries in the region, it is a must that we have to have a very strong connectivity in terms of the physical infrastructure, physical transportation and logistic infrastructure that support the small and medium enterprises in Cambodia, to link that to the market in the region, to link small and medium enterprises in the Mekong country, in other ASEAN countries together, and until we are well connected and we can promote ASEAN as a region, as a strong trading partner with the outside world, and that comes to the ultimate goal of bringing mutual prosperity for the region.
Thank you, Dr. Kimlong. What about Mr. Virak?
Yes, Thirot, thank you for the conclusion of our session today, and also thank Dr. Kimlong for very comprehensive comment on our chairmanship next year. And to me, I put two parts. The first one, I would like to address further on the ASEAN chairmanship for Cambodia next year. As we may know that ASEAN, Cambodia has already handed over the chairmanship from Brunei Darussalam in October, and there are a number of prioritized pillars that we want to achieve during our chairmanship. And I believe that this is another crucial momentum for us to be ASEAN chair again. And yes, most importantly, we can see from the past history, we cannot see ASEAN a small association or small nation. We start up with only few members, and now we have 10 country member states. and we already bring a lot of partners. And last but not least, recently we bring the conclusion of RCEP recently. This is a very good achievement for our region, and I believe that it is not a difficulty matter to think that investor must trust our region. You may see that recently in Europe, UK Brexit from Europe, it is something different from our region. So I believe that we will build ASEAN more resilient and more stability in the future. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Virak. So I thank Mr. Virak and Dr. Kimlong for your contribution in today's discussion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to an end of our program today. I wish you good luck and see you next time.